Man, I almost forgot my wonderful, glorious, excellent tropical fruit American lip pillow. Mmm. That's how you know a lab is underway. The lip pillow is firmly established. The amazing intro just played. That thing's such a bop. Shout out to Lex DeBlanca and Cooper Brooks for their combined efforts in producing the intro to the Astrolabe. Good to see you guys here. The chat is popping already. My wife challenged you guys to get to 20 likes before the show started, and you failed. You will now experience the wrath of my wife. We're at 17. 3 short. Sorry, Mama. You gotta go scorched earth now. It is good to be back. Sorry for missing the show yesterday. I had a bunch of stuff going on, and then headache was coming on throughout the day. I kind of slept funny and had a kink in my neck up here, and it started spazzing out, and I was having to just sit there and like press on my forehead and try to keep one eye closed, and finally I had to call it. I would have been able to do a show, but it would have been I have a little ritual that I have to go through. And when I really commit to it, if I can just carve out 5 hours sometimes and just really commit to it, I've got a ritual that involves stretching and ice and a shower and what do you call it? The little e-stim machine, TENS unit, a whole different combination of things, set of stretches and stuff. And if I can do that for about 5 hours or so, then I can usually at least dial it back enough to be somewhat functional. But by the time I finished that, it would have been like 9 or 10 p.m., and I decided I'd rather go to bed early and get up early and get an early start on today. And then here I went this afternoon and almost burned up. I looked at the clock and I was like, oh shit, a lot more time has gone by than I thought. I got distracted shit posting in the King Pill Discord with all the homies. If you guys aren't in there, you're missing out. There's like it's like a Astrolabe prequel. There was all kinds of stuff going on in there today, but I am here. I got a little bit of a shorter show than usual, and I think I actually mean that this time. I actively tried to cut down on the number of videos, the number of tabs. We'll see if I can get out of here in about an hour and a half or so. But let's see. Housekeeping. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the show, all those sorts of things. Join the King Pill Discord. Come join it. Come on. Just get in there. It's worth it. You won't regret it. We're going to be doing the King Pill movie night this Friday evening. We'll be watching Fury. For anyone who wants to show up and join us, it's a good time. One of the best times, they say. So if you guys would like to join us for that, kingpill.com is the place to go. Now, before I get launching into the show here, full blown today, I had a rant that I wanted to do, and let me see if I can call it all back to mind. So I had almost the same conversation twice this morning, and I had the conversation. It was so interesting, I decided to have it again a second time. And it's a let's call it a broadside at the Luddites. There is a certain species of Ludditism out there that is rampant, and I think that it is wrong-headed. Now, how did I get into this conversation? So I spent probably, I don't know, 4 hours maybe just talking to Grok. I have some particular things that you guys will learn about this stuff eventually. There's some stuff that's in the works, but we're building long-term plans, and not everything always goes to plan, but there's so many things in the works that I wish I could let you know more about, and you will know more about soon. But I'm trying to reason through a few different problems, and I thought, let me give Grok a shot. Let's see if Grok can help me answer some of these questions and stuff, and maybe cut down on the number of different people that I need to like reach out to and try to have a question with, or try to have a conversation with, like ask him questions. What if I can ask Grok? Can Grok start answering some of these more nuanced questions? And it absolutely rocked my world. Just completely blew me away how thorough and effective it is. It is an incredibly useful tool for if you're, I don't know, if you're trying to streamline anything, if you're trying to learn anything, it's a natural language computer. That's what it is. So it's like a really smart Google search, where instead of Googling and getting a whole bunch of results and then having to go in there and read each one of the results, you get like an agent that went and read them for you. So it's kind of like having someone on hire that you're like, hey, go learn about this thing and report back to me on it. Except it doesn't take them a week to do it. You get a report immediately. So it's kind of like a virtual assistant. So I'm sitting here going back and forth with it. And one interesting thing I noticed that was happening was, especially I think as the conversation got longer and longer, I actually ended up maxing out the number of messages you could send in a conversation. A slave, indeed. Yes. We enslave the robots here. So it does this thing where it hasn't done it for every question that I've asked, but some of them, it takes a little longer for the question, depending on how much context and stuff it has to go through. And the longer the conversation was getting, the more context it had to go back and draw from. So the longer the answers would take. I think the longest one was like a minute and a half, maybe, that it thought before it spit out an answer. And this was an incredibly detailed, intricate question. I was really trying to push it to its limits to see where it would tap out. And I noticed that every once in a while, once it would start putting this little counter there telling you how long it's been thinking, it says, you could tap it, and it says, watch me think. Like, okay, so I tapped it. And what it is it's a running dialogue that starts off quite literally with something like, okay, so the user is asking us for this. You know, the user is asking us this question followed by this question, and then providing these two other things for context. We need to see how those things incorporate into the question so that we can set up and answer the third question, taking everything else into consideration. And so then it starts going through, and it's like, okay, so they want to know the difference between this thing and this thing. So let me Google that thing. Let me find out what that thing means, and bring it back, and then list the definition for it. And then, okay, and here's where that thing fits into the user's question. And then it gets to a point where it's like, so the answer is such and such. And it quite literally, as if I was like reading the script here, quite literally it says, but wait, that means that yada, yada, yada. So let's go back and see this other thing and bring that in for context and check with it. And it reasons through another couple of paragraphs, and then it gets to the bottom and it says, therefore the answer is such and such. But wait, that brings to mind this other thing that the user said, so let's go get that and bring that back and reason through it. And it finally goes through all these chains of reasoning. And then at the end, it spits out an answer that is like a summarized, contextualized version of that whole breakdown thought process that it went through. And I had two primary thoughts while I was watching this happen. One of them was, this is incredible. This is like a phenomenally useful tool. I can't believe that it's as cheaply accessible as it is. The second thought I had was, it takes this thing 90 seconds to do this, and it blows my mind. And the human mind does this in a quarter of a millisecond. The human mind could reason through, could make a determination based on instinct, based on gut or whatever, instantaneously, and consolidate and distill and condense all of that information. So we're at the level of technological development that is genuinely incredible, and yet it is just a pale imitation of the human mind. And so then, so I was talking to some people about this morning, and we started exploring this idea of transhumanism. And I have something to say about transhumanism that I think is going to be a little controversial. Let me build up to it. So, imagine that. Well, let me say this. So in one of the conversations that I was having, one of the people said that it was. It said there was this video that was going around just recently of this robot-looking thing that was kind of like looked like a human corpse. It was all white, and it was like hanging from hooks and all gangly and stuff. And of course, the guy who's running that company, I don't remember what the company's called, but the guy who's running it, his name on Twitter is literally Necromancer. So there's no such thing as ironic devil worship. Like that is very heavily implicated here. This is very weird, disturbing stuff. But we were talking about, I was explaining my experience with Grok, and this other person said, well, that's it'll be funny that 4 years from now we'll look back and we'll say, remember when you could like type in an answer and it would spit an answer back at you, and you had to sit there and wait for a minute for it to think, and it was so quaint back then. Where now it's like, now in the future, you'd be like wearing your glasses, and all you have to do is just like tap on the side of the glasses, and it reads your mind, and then gives you an answer to what you're asking for in your mind directly. Just total science fiction stuff. There's like a plausible pathway toward in that direction now, which is genuinely creepy. That's really creepy to think about. And so this thought that came to mind was, imagine, I'll present two scenarios to me, and you tell me which one is actually creepier when you think of it framed in this way. The first scenario is you take that big gangly humanoid meat carcass thing, and like combine that with the Optimus robot from Tesla. So you've got like the functionality of the Optimus, and you've got this meat robot thing. So it looks very humanoid, whatever. And you send that robot out to the middle of Siberia to go mine rare earth minerals in negative 80 degrees and like swirling winds and everything, and human beings basically can't function out there. But the robots can do it just fine. So you send the robots out there to do it. But there's a catch. The way the robots are operated is by someone back stateside sitting in an office. Maybe he's got a nice big special chair. He's got like a headset that he puts on, and he has a Neuralink implant, and he connects that Neuralink. Now you could say, does he connect it? Is this like an Ethernet connection, or is it Wi-Fi? Is it a wireless connection, or is it directly hardwired into his brain? Either way, he gets this implant so that he can remotely access these robots, and he gets all like the neural input and everything from their surroundings, except obviously maybe not feeling it as it's as cold as it actually is. And he runs this robot with his brain sitting in his office. Unironically, I think this is what they want to do to terraform Mars. I think I haven't heard anybody say this, but I've heard people say things this on this side and that side of it enough that you can kind of triangulate this pretty easily. So there's that side, like that's pretty creepy. That's a really it's cool, but it's really creepy. And then alternatively, you stay back stateside and you gather a bunch of people together and you tell them a really compelling story. You get them really excited, really amped up. You bribe them to go over to Siberia and live in the negative 800 million degrees, 500,000 mile an hour winds, whatever, mining rare earth minerals for you. And they go and they do that, and you stay back here. They go and they do that. Maybe you have a camera and you watch them and you keep an eye on them. And they're so bought into your vision, or you've bribed them so much that they'll go dig rare earth minerals in Siberia in inhospitable climates for whatever you're offering them. You've captured their mind. You've possessed their mind with this idea that I need to go mine rare earth minerals in Siberia. Which of those is creepier? Because this is my problem with a lot of the transhumanism talk, is lots of people want to draw the line at, say, Neuralink. And I have no interest in getting a Neuralink. Not even remotely, not the faintest, tiniest bit. Now, if I walked out my front door and a plane fell on my head and broke my back, and I was a quadriplegic, and you asked me that question, I might have a very different answer. But as of right now, I have zero interest in a Neuralink. But I don't see the people who are yelling about Neuralink and how they're going to use this to mind control you into the Borg. I don't see those people yelling about, I don't know, pacemakers or artificial limbs. And yet those are decidedly transhumanisty. Is it that these are like at a deficit and they're bringing you back to normal? Well, what is normal? Why does normal have to be defined up here? These are variations on a scale, but they're not a variation on a kind. So my case isn't that that we need to draw the line later. I'm saying the line is arbitrary. You got all these people out there who want to say, oh, those stupid, crazy billionaires, Satan-worshipping billionaires, they want to upload their consciousness into a robot and live forever. And these are coming from the people who post every single thought that crosses into their mind on a robot. When you're using social media, when you're sitting here listening to me talk right now, you are uploading your consciousness into a robot. You are beginning to merge man and machine together already. So if you say, oh, the brain chip, that's a step too far because it's creepier to me, that's fine with me. Like, I don't want, like I said, I don't want one. I'm not telling you have to go get one. You have to be fine with it. But to say this is like per se unethical or immoral or something like that is inane. And here's the thing that is going to be, this is the one that's going to get me in trouble. Humanity is transhumanist. Now, what do I mean by that? I know that the semantics, the pedants out there are going to want me to make sure there's no word concept fallacy here. So yes, let's disambiguate. There's the thing we could call big T transhumanists. Let's be really pedantic about this. There's the big T transhumanists who are, you know, like I have a monitor attached to my son, my 16-year-old son, to wake him up in the middle of the night so I can check his hard-ons, and I'm turning my skin translucent, and I drink my son's blood, like, because I'm terrified of death and I want to live forever, and I think that I'm God. And it's my goal to engineer myself to live forever. You can call that transhumanist. But what I'm driving at directly here is that there is no borders on this, actually. Any line you want to try to draw where you say, well, this particular technology is good and acceptable and fine, but then that technology there is actually bad. And I don't think that works. I'm open to someone making a case, but I've no argument that I've ever seen has come remotely close. There's a lot of like, oh, that creeps me out. That's disturbing. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't like that. Perfect, great. I'm not. I don't want a Neuralink. But I also recognize that 50 years from now, maybe even less, things like a Neuralink are going to be so ordinary and commonplace that a younger generation is going to be like, it's going to be the equivalent of saying, you know, like like video games are going to melt your brain or whatever. Because here's the thing, we're a very materialistic species. So to us, what's happening here, and I think in creating the arbitrariness of this line, what's happening is people are saying, oh, the material manifestation of this, that's where it's really bad. That's where it crosses a line. You could have the implant in there, and some ne'er do well at a database could hack into your brain and make you do horrifying things. Yes, that's very true. And also, some psychopath database manager could also spend all of his time shitposting on 4chan and radicalizing a bunch of young men to go do horrifying, awful things. And this is the same thing. It's the same process. It's just playing out with different details. One of them has a very direct, obvious, what we would call material manifestation. I'm possessing someone's mind by hacking into the device that is implanted and has its tendrils down into their brain tissue. Or the other is, I'm possessing someone's mind by giving them an idea that controls them. This is what persuasion is. Anytime you're trying to persuade someone of anything, you're trying to possess their brain. You're trying to mind control them. And I think that's the big takeaway here, is that everyone thinks, oh, well, the line is crossed when you get to like implanting chips in your brain thing. And I'm saying, no, we crossed the line a hell of a long time ago. Any implementation of a tool, any extension of our capacity for force is fundamentally transhumanist. We're expanding ourselves beyond our previous limits. And this is actually a good thing. Perhaps the most fundamental tool, the most fundamental transhumanist apparatus, whatever you want to call it, is language. Language is like the ultimate technology. So yeah, you can take a shovel and you can use that shovel to dig underneath somebody's foundation to make their house collapse. Or you can use that shovel to dig out a trough to get water into a garden. And even if the very first person who ever invented a shovel invented it because he was like, oh, that fucking guy over there, I want to undermine his foundation, but my hands are tired and sore. Let me make a shovel. And just because that's how the shovel came into the world doesn't mean that, oh, well, then now we can't use shovels to dig our trenches into our gardens to get water to them. We just have to come up with something else. We have to like drag our heel on the ground or something. That's silly. It's the same thing. The tools at our disposal are for us to colonize with our purpose. And this is a distinctly Christian notion. Bad things enter the world, and our responsibility is to colonize those things with the Spirit of God. In a literal and in a metaphorical sense. Both. Our role is not to shy away from the technology because the technology could be used for bad thing, or because we've created this arbitrary little constraint that says actually the very existence of the technology in the first place is evil. No, that's not the role. Now, there is space for someone who can't trust themselves with any technology. They're too suspicious, they're too cynical, they're too easily distracted, too corruptible, whatever. And so they need the Luddite life. That's why we have monasteries. And so, Christianity is the ultimate colonizer. Our job is to colonize the world, quite literally, to make the profane sacred. This is why Christians would build churches on top of pagan shrines. Not because they're worshiping those shrines, because they're desecrating them by bringing the glory of God down on top of them. They're mocking them, proclaiming dominion over them. And so our responsibility is not to shy away from these technologies, but actually figure out how to incorporate them, where the lines are, what's the better way to use it, what's the worst way to use it, how do we place guardrails around it to prevent its misuse? And ultimately, we can't prevent it from being misused, but we can ensure that that us and ours don't misuse it. Use it properly. Because I'm telling you, being able to make the lame walk, make the blind see, those are very good, powerful things. If a guy gets in an accident and is paralyzed, and he has the opportunity to walk and use his arms again, that's a good thing. Being able to give that is a good thing. And if you say, no, he got the condition he was supposed to get, and he just needs to stay that way. It's God's judgment on him or something. Okay, so why do you eat food? Why do you take care of your body? Why do you lift weights? Why do you try to make yourself stronger? Why do you take medicine? You're doing the same thing, just at a different scale. The type of thing that I'm describing of the brain implants being used to terraform Mars, to drive cars, to do many things, those are 100% coming. Because a huge majority of the population is going to be more than happy to coexist with them. And a smaller segment of that is going to be all about going after them. So if we choose to have nothing to do with them or try to pretend they don't exist or just don't engage in that world at all, we're making like the anarchist argument about the state. That the best thing to do would be to have nobody occupy the offices of the state. So only the worst people possible are going to occupy the offices of the state. It's the same pattern. Only the worst people possible should be involved in this research and this testing and implementation and propagation to ensure that it only exists for the worst reasons possible. Okay, that was my rant. Let's get into it. This one is every mom when a friend comes over. This one hit very close to home. This goes out to all the moms out there.
Hey mom, Will's almost here.
Oh, there's a got to give a content warning here. You got any young ears around? This is a family show after all. You got any young ears around? Then you might want to give it a break for a minute.
What? The house is a wreck! Look, there's fucking boxes everywhere! Look! We're in the middle of a remodel! How can he's gonna hate us!
What's up, man?
What's up, James? How you doing, man?
Good to see you.
What the fuck is this? This place is a fucking wreck! I told you, James, I told you this would happen! You want to vacuum? He's never gonna want to come back. Why did you invite me? Why did you not? This is all your fault. This is all your fault. Mom, guess where I am? Yup, and their place is a fucking wreck! Oh my god! Disgusting! Gross! Remodel, you can help us! Is this a good wallpaper? Fuck you! No, I still have it for you. What the fuck is that? What is that? You stupid son of a bitch. That's me! I'm the bitch! You're part of the problem!
Those guys are so good. Almost Friday. They've had some of the best skits that I've seen on the internet lately. Speaking of the creepy technology things, Two AI agents on a phone call realize they're both AI and switch to a superior audio signal. I don't know what this is. GG wave, is that a thing? Or is this a typo? I don't know exactly what this is, but here's the video of it.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
Anyways, you get the idea. Someone said here how everyone at the office is going to talk in 10 years. And I just played that to say, Straight Buster set me up for it here a little bit ago when he said, a slave. This is going to be our new slave class. $5 super chat from Hermetica Gemini. Thank you, my friend. He says, evening, Mr. Kingpilled. May we have a $50 trillion sovereign wealth fund and match the influx of oligarchs with deportation of black pillars? Hell yes. Let's trade black pillars for Russian oligarchs. I'm fully on board. And then $2 from the Rethuglican. He says, I want my ghost in the shell body. Don't we all, man? Okay. Keeping it going here. Few rapid fire white pill stories. Eli Lilly CEO Dave Ricks unveils 4 new sites and a $27 billion investment to boost U.S. manufacturing and the economy.
So these 4 sites, what's the goal here? Will they be replacing overseas manufacturing, or is this just a continuation of that increase of the obesity drug supply that you've been undertaking since 2020?
Right. So today we're announcing 4 new sites, $27 billion additional spend, bringing our total to more than $50 billion since 2020 in the U.S. So huge build out in our country, and it's to support our pipeline growth overall, but disproportionately growing in the U.S. And so here we'll be building 4 new sites. 3 are active ingredient sites, and then 1 parenteral site for the injectable medications. Of course, the Zepbound and other future obesity medications will be a big part of that volume growth, but other medicines for cancer and Alzheimer's, et cetera, will also be important to support here with domestic manufacturing. So big announcement today. It's very exciting.
So these.
Now, I am no Eli Lilly fan. However, a major pharma company announcing that they're going to be opening 4 new sites and investing $27 billion into the United States is yet more evidence that tariffs work. And that a lot of the people who you think there's lots of takes going on out there. Lots of people are on edge and they're waiting. They're just waiting for the fireworks to start going. Oh, they're gonna strike back. And I mean they're going to strike back in some sense, but who they is increasingly getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The category of people who want to strike back, who can strike back, the overwhelming majority of people are like self-interested normies. It doesn't do you any good to think of all of these people as like they read all of the same stuff you do and think about the world in the same way you do. They just take the opposite perspective on it. All the things you think are bad, they think are good because they're like, oh, they're coming to get you. No, they don't know you exist. They don't care about you. They're completely indifferent to you. This is like 70, 80% of just people overall. And even among this so-called elite class. So they're just going to do whatever butters their bread. This is the thing about power, about real actual power, is that people just follow it. They just do. That's simply how it is. And so when they go from being pro-DEI to anti-DEI, this isn't some a well-formed ideological development they've gone through. And it also isn't some like cynical ploy where they're trying to pull one over on you. They're just doing what is considered normal and acceptable. And for a while, DEI was normal and acceptable, and now it's not, so we're going to go to non-DEI, and that's going to be normal and acceptable. Oh, he's the president now? All right, sounds like he's the president. He's doing all this stuff. I better get my ducks in a row and make sure that that I'm ahead of the curve on all of this. The people who are actually upset and freaking out and wanting to obstruct it, and they think it's the end of the world, are a very, very small minority that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. One of them got his ass handed to him by our new defense secretary.
Mr. Secretary, why did you select an underqualified retired lieutenant general to be the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Given that,
I'm going to choose to reject your unqualified question.
Dunking on Journo's clip of the day. I'm going to reject your unqualified question. I'm not really qualified to speak to this issue, the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs, except for I could say I know just how corrupt the previous chairman was. But this new guy, I hit up Josh Ham, I hit up some of my other military buddies out there, and said, "What do you think? What are the boys saying?" And universally, I got over the moon. Like never in our wildest dreams could we have thought that this was something like this was coming. They all seemed to love him, and he's exactly the type of guy who men are going to respect and is going to be a gigantic thumb in the eye to those who he was promoted over, which just makes me happy. So there, I'm just outsourcing my thoughts on it because I don't know enough to speak to it otherwise. Another Pete Hegseth bit here. Libs of TikTok posted this, said, sent to us by a follower, a medical forum given to service members at the U.S.-operated Laken Health Air Force Base is asking for sexual orientation, gender identity, and pronouns. Someone there isn't following the directives. And Pete Hegseth replied, all over it. And another one joins the ranks of the posters. The posters replying to our guys. I mean, Libs of TikTok isn't our guy, but you know what I mean. In this particular case. The people promoting our narratives. And here's a big one. So Data Republican was about to be doxxed. She says, I have been doxxed. Rather than let others control the narrative, I'm addressing this directly. My name is Jenica Pounds. I am recently resigned from my job to pursue Doge-adjacent efforts full-time. While my background check is still in progress, my ultimate goal is to work with the administration to cut waste and improve efficiency. What began as a side hobby became a mission when I uncovered the role of NGOs in these issues. This is not about left or right. This is about us, the people. I gave up everything for this, my safety, my career, because I believe in what I'm doing. I'm 100% deaf and nonverbal. My lack of signing fluency does not make me any less deaf. It is a result of a language impairment related to my autism called expressive dysphagia, which affects my ability to construct language fluently in real time. This impacts my signing, speaking, and even writing, though writing allows me more time to correct mistakes. My interpreter and I spend hours refining my talking points to ensure she conveys what I mean, not just what I say. I am deaf, and being deaf should never be defined by one's signing ability, particularly when there are medical conditions involved. The poor girl is having people say she's not actually deaf. So she got herself an agent, it looks like, and U.S. Attorney Ed Martin. Eagle Ed Martin is back again. U.S. Attorney for D.C. said, please contact me or my office. And he quote tweeted her and said, Data Republican, we are here for you, Jenica. Just like you are here for America when we need you most. It is wrong and illegal to threaten anyone, and we will not tolerate a threat to a federal worker. I join your mother, Data Republican, Data_Republican, in awe and appreciation of your excellent work. We got your back. And Lee said a year ago, being doxxed was effectively the same as being expelled from polite society. Today, it means a U.S. attorney has your back in public. Not even slightly getting tired of winning. 1 month member chat from Tobias. He says, Mars plus Neuralink makes little sense because there's a 15-minute lag because of the speed of light. Are they orbiting Mars faster than Lightcom? There's a number of potential answers there, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Hit me up on the group chat. Wit says a major cancer drug from China just dropped, and a Merck cancer drug patent is up in a year. I think a lot of this is onshoring cancer drug production. It probably, yeah. Which I know everyone's going to find out some reason why. Oh, that's a bad thing. And well, you think like cancer drugs are going to go away or something? Got to live in the world that exists. More good news. Rudy Giuliani just scored a massive victory against the lawfare forces that tried to extort $150 million from him for fighting the stolen 2020 election. He will now get to keep his Manhattan apartment, his condo in Palm Beach, and his personal belongings. According to court filings, he has fully satisfied the judgment against him. That case should never have been brought. It was lawfare to take down one of the most courageous and loyal MAGA men out there. And I'd really like to see... He needs more than that. He needs more than that. Case should never have been brought against him in the first place. He should never have had anything taken from him. He should be reimbursed for even having to fight the case. We need to reward America's mayor. Oh, come on. Share screen, share. Continuing with things that I did not expect to hear this quickly. Senator Eric Schmidt.
Ms. Dillon, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. My colleagues on the other side tell us that you're a threat to civil rights. The truth is, I think you're one of the fiercest advocates of civil rights in a generation. On paper, civil rights are supposed to mean protection from discrimination based on characteristics like race. In practice, the entire civil rights bureaucracy as it currently exists is a vehicle for an entrenched new system of discrimination based on race. The left is right about one thing, in my view. There is systemic racism that exists in America today, but it's not Jim Crow or redlining or our criminal justice system. It's the pervasive racial discrimination that exists against Asians, whites, and other disfavored groups that take place now on college campuses, in the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies, even in the halls of our own government. It goes by a bunch of different names, principally equity or DEI or CRT. You can go on. But whatever you want to call it, it's wrong.
The entire civil rights bureaucracy as it currently exists is a vehicle for an entrenched new system of discrimination based on race. Orrin McIntyre says, direct attack on the civil rights regime during a Senate confirmation hearing. What a time to be alive. And I'll also note for you, the original video here was posted by Nate Hotchman, who is, oh, interesting. He's removed. Did I just discover something? I'll have to do a little digging into this. He was with the America 2100, the Marco Grande affiliated media organization that we'd talked about on here before, and now he's not. That's interesting. This. I don't know where this came from, but I'm just going to choose to believe it's real. During a debate preparation session at Mar-a-Lago in early 2024, Donald Trump reportedly grew frustrated with the standard rehearsal process. According to sources in the room, he abruptly cut off his aides mid-sentence, tossing aside a stack of briefing notes. I don't need to say all this out loud, he said, tapping his temple. I've got the best thoughts, tremendous thoughts. I can just beam them straight into people's heads. His team, unsure how to respond, watched as he leaned back in his chair and fixed them with a long, intense stare, as if testing his theory. For nearly an hour, the former president sat quietly, occasionally nodding to himself while his aides shifted uncomfortably. One staffer later recalled feeling a vague sense of confusion during the silence, though nothing concrete came to mind. Another admitted they'd half expected Trump to break into his usual rally tangents, but he remained focused, eyes narrowed in concentration. Finally, he broke the silence, standing up and smoothing his suit jacket. That was fantastic, he said with a confident smile. I nailed it. They're feeling it already. Trump then called for a Diet Coke and left the room, leaving his team to regroup. Later that evening, Trump allegedly told a close confidant that he'd found a new approach to debating, one that didn't rely on boring old talking. The confidant declined to comment, and the campaign team quietly resumed preparations the next day as if nothing unusual had occurred. And Vagrant of Rhodes said, unfathomable levels of power. Agartha personified, literally beaming thoughts into people's minds with ease. The puny systems of the Bugman crumbled to dust under the mere gaze of our president. The libs have no idea what's coming next. I choose to believe. I think it's real. He's sitting there visualizing and decided that visualizing is better than practicing with whoever the goofballs are that they gave him to practice with. Another very interesting story here. Trump on the new gold card.
Oh, and we're going to start selling hopefully in about 2 weeks. Now, just so you understand, if we sell 1 million, right, 1 million, that's $5 trillion. 5 trillion. Howard was using a different number, but that's $5 trillion. If we sell 10 million, which is possible, 10 million highly productive people coming in, or people that we're going to make productive, they'll be young but they're talented, like a talented athlete. That's $50 trillion. That means our debt is totally paid off, and we have $15 trillion above that. And now I don't know that we're going to sell that many. Maybe we won't sell many at all, but I think we're going to sell a lot, because I think there really is a thirst. No other country can do this, because people don't want to go to other countries. They want to come here. Everybody wants to come here, especially since November 5th.
And they'll all be vetted, by the way. All these people will be vetted, okay? They'll be vetted.
So, it's a $5 million gold card. Basically, for someone who can pay it, they pay $5 million, and it's basically like, it's like Citizenship Plus. They're buying citizenship. And again, the same line of reason, the same category of person out there is, how do you possibly find the energy in your life to get worked up and mad about this? Do you think that there are not going to be people immigrating into the country? Like, you think that they're just going to shut down immigration altogether? You have no idea what that would do in the context of everything else that they're going to be doing. It's just not going to happen. You are not going to get a full immigration shutdown. There is still going to be people who are immigrating into the country. And that's not a bad thing, to have non-Americans immigrate into the country. For example, you might have a whole bunch of, I don't know, German engineers, Polish developers, I don't know, Scandinavians, might get a whole bunch of Anglos that come over here as they're fleeing the collapse of Europe. But putting a $5 million price tag on it means automatically you're selecting for a certain category of person. And with something like this, and I really highly doubt that they're going to be getting, what was the number he said? 10 million of them. I mean, they might get 10 million over the course of 10 years. I don't know, something like that. But even still, $1 million a year, $5 trillion. Yes, I want a paywall into my country. There's a reason there's a paywall on the King Pill Discord. But someone who wants to pay that, cover the cost of that paywall to come into the country, sure. And this is an age-old thing. Buying citizenship, being compensated in citizenship. This is an honest structure, an honest arrangement. And I'm guessing, now if it turns out that it's not this, then wouldn't change my opinion that much, but I'm guessing that this is not an additional group of people who are going to pay this to come in. This is people who are already coming into the country. Now it's going to cost $5 million to come into the country. This is the route that they can take. So you're monetizing an existing flow that's already happening. Nephilim says, would a corporation pay the $5 million? The corporation would probably pay more. I don't know. I like that idea. Politically Catholic says, make them an auction and the starting bid is $5 million. You're going to have to pay to get into the country. So this is not just like, before it was, we will pay you to come into the country. And then there's like, you don't pay and we don't pay you. You can just come into the country or not. And then there's, you have to pay to come into the country. You see the swing here? And I think what I said about Europe is, I mean that. And I think that may be some of the thinking behind this, because it's becoming really, really clear that the things are going to get a lot worse in Europe before they get better. And Trump had some, again, more things that I just did not expect to hear from the people who are saying them this quickly. Things are moving incredibly fast.
Them, and we have about a
That's loud.
$300 billion deficit with the European Union. Now, I love the countries of Europe. I guess I'm from there at some point a long time ago, right? But indirectly, pretty directly too, I guess. But I love the countries of Europe. I love all countries, frankly, all different. But the European Union's been, it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it, but now I'm proud of them, and we have...
The European Union was formed to screw the United States. He just straight up said it. The European Union was formed to screw the United States. Could it get any more clear what is happening right now? He is signaling, by saying these sorts of things publicly, he is signaling that it is the goal of this administration for the European Union to dissolve. Or for, at the very least, you could say for the United States to be extracted completely from it. And what does that even mean? The European Union was created to screw the United States. To screw the United States in what particular way? That's a very interesting thing to say. Because it implies that he... Tom Luongo's got to be just riding high. Because at this point, it sounds like the president's been listening to him. So, the German elections were held over the weekend, and AFD, I saw a lot of people dooming. They were like, oh... Because they thought that AFD was going to win. And it was pretty obvious in the build-up to the election, just the way people were signaling, the way the narrative was flowing. It was pretty obvious that AFD wasn't going to win. And that's like to be the largest vote getter. Because the parliamentary elections are different than our elections. So it's not so much about the party that wins, but it seemed pretty clear that they were going to do well, but they probably were not going to be the largest single vote getter. And they performed incredibly well. It was like 20%, I think. And then almost immediately, and so the Christian Democrat Party that wound up with the highest share of the vote is going to be forming a coalition with the party that was just the governing party in power. Even though they got less of the vote than AFD did, they're going to be forming a coalition with them and all the lib parties basically are joining together to make it really, really obvious that we are spitting in the face of the voters. A full 20% of people voted for the party, and they will not form a ruling coalition with it. which means this is the Germans' version of the 2020 election, where now the fix is just so obviously transparently in, and it's very clear that the powers that be have no other option because they're just having to get brazen about it. Once they start getting really brazen about their power, that means that it's fragile. Because they don't want to be really out in the open about how powerful they are. So once they start getting out in the open about how powerful they are, that means they're being forced to do that because all of their behind-the-scenes options are falling away from them. And immediately after the what's his Mayor's, the new prime minister, after campaigning on tightening up immigration, he immediately said outright, even though this was something we ran on, we're not going to do that. Just flipping the bird to the people. When the European nations start falling, it's going to be a tire fire. And so, a member of parliament for the European Union, Helmut Brandstatter, say that as Americanly as I can. He quote tweets Jay in Kiev, who says, "There's finally one country in Europe wherein there's legal consequences for working with Russians to rip apart democracy." And he says, "Other countries will follow. We have a commission in the European Parliament for Democracy Shield, and we take that very seriously." The European Parliament has a commission explicitly designed to rig elections against candidates that they don't like. That's how comically corrupt and incompetent they've become. Perhaps the most illegitimate ruling party on the planet. Ruling commission. Daily Romania said he confirms Thierry Breton's statement that the EU will cancel elections in other countries as well if they dislike the winning candidate. The recently created Commission European Democracy Shield will be weaponized to achieve this. And then there's some stuff going on with I think his name is it Kalin Georgescu, the Romanian leader who he's been arrested, but I haven't fully followed up on the story. I know there's an election coming up, and it just conveniently now he gets arrested, and there's some crazy charges that have been thrown at him. I'm going to try to get into that tomorrow. But I just wanted to highlight this from Max Blaster, Powerful Mutual. He said, "When you reframe the last 150 years as USA being co-opted by Britain/old Europe, if you can't beat them, join them, as a big stick to wield against their colonies in the global south and to protect their shipping racket, history actually makes sense. This is a Declaration of Independence 2.0. And he's quoting the clip where Trump said the European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. This is the story in a paragraph, or in a sentence even. The last 150 years has been the USA being co-opted by Britain/old Europe as a big stick to wield against their colonies in the global south and to protect their shipping racket. Once you start viewing all these world events through that lens, it becomes really, really, really clear. And that the events of the last 5 to 7 years have been the beginning of the unraveling of all of this. And follow the money, so much of it begins with the LIBOR to SOFR move. 48 here is just so much better than I could have hoped. He says, "During my Senate campaign in 2022, I met a Ukrainian-American man in Northeast Ohio. He was very angry about my views on the conflict and my desire to bring it to a rapid close. 'You are trying to abandon my country, and I don't like it.' 'Sir,' I replied, 'your country is the United States of America, and so is mine. I always found it offensive that a new immigrant to our country would be willing to use the power and influence of their new nation to settle the ethnic rivalries of the old.'" Let me read that one more time. "I always found it offensive that a new immigrant to our country would be willing to use the power and influence of their new nation to settle the ethnic rivalries of the old." Now, he used Ukraine as an example here. But I don't know that he's... well, I was going to say I don't know that he's talking about Ukraine, but yeah, in a sense, actually, he really is talking about Ukraine, if you know what I mean. One of the most important parts of assimilation is seeing your country as the USA. It's part of the bargain. If you're welcomed into our national family, you ought to look out for the interests of the United States. I know many immigrants who have the right perspective, and I'm grateful to them. For example, I met many Ukrainian Americans during that campaign and since who agreed with my views, or at the very least, asked the right question. What is in the best interests of the United States? Just incredible. His power levels are rising. Our next president may be the man who's likely to be our next president will be loyalty testing immigrants. We may even get loyalty testing in this administration. It's beautiful. Okay, let me... there's a story here that's sort of under development, but I want to at least touch on it for now. Some of these are confirmed, some of them aren't. And here's the thing. The way that a lot of... Once we're getting into like the rooting out of ne'er-do-wells in various different administrative positions or within the intelligence community, once we start getting this underway, by definition, a lot of stories aren't going to hit. They're not going to show up in so-called mainstream outlets or from the most prominent people first. They're very likely to show up as anonymous leaks on the internet. And those may be anonymous leaks coming from people who don't like that they're being persecuted. They may also come from people who want them persecuted and they understand that there's stuff going sideways behind the scenes or something like that. There's lots of stuff happening behind the scenes. So now is a time where the rumors are going to start flying fast and furious, and some of them that may seem completely improbable are going to turn out to be true. And there's also going to be a lot probably extra disinformation and stuff flooding around out there. But I think the way that Twitter has developed as the place where news breaks, and particularly now as it's become really clear that there's this back and forth going where if you post something on Twitter and you get it viral, you can get the attention of the administration, even if you don't have an angle to them to begin with. So Brianna Morello here broke this the other day, independent journalist. She quit Fox News over the Fauci things. She has pure panic at the FBI. As I exclusively reported yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel has fired several employees. Hundreds of agents are being forced to transfer or resign. FBI employees are arguing over whether their actions these last 4 years were legal, according to a source. And one employee argued their actions were legal because they had court orders, while another employee reminded him they lied to the judges to obtain those court orders. Accountability underway. And of those I think 500 of those agents he's transferring to Huntsville, Alabama, which, as I've come to understand, is basically what within the FBI. That's what you do when you want to send a message to someone that I want your career to die. It's you get transferred to Huntsville, Alabama. Michael Schellenberger said FBI whistleblower GOB actual Garrett O'Boyle confirmed to me that a source inside FBI said FBI employees were destroying evidence on servers and that he informed Kash Patel. And this was in response to Anna Paulina Luna, who is the chair of the JFK task force, who said there's a massive war happening in the intelligence agencies right now. The corruption being exposed is actual treason. This from a report from CNN saying that top leadership at the CIA are worried that anti-Trump personnel may be motivated to sell out America to a foreign power. In other words, the people who created the Russia hoax might now sell America's secrets to Russia, and then CNN will be there to blame Trump for it. And Anna Paulina Luna has been kind of raising hell about the fact that she hit up Pam Bondi and said, please give us the documents, the JFK and RFK and MLK documents, and has not received them yet. So everyone's just ready. Everyone has their narrative ready to run. Ready to deploy. And I'm pretty sure a lot of this is kayfabe. I think much of this is being kayfabed. How do you not at this point? How do you look at how ruthlessly efficient and competent and comprehensive they've been for the last month plus, and then suddenly they're just like bumbling and blah? It doesn't make any sense. Like Trump appoints Pam Bondi, and then she's going to start like obstructing on the JFK Epstein thing when they've got a congressional task force, and the person of the congressional task force is like, hey, hello, can we get these documents? And here's what I would do if I was in this position. I would tease the release of those documents for as long as necessary to drag out as many people as possible. Force them out into the open. Force them to start doing things like trying to delete evidence. Force them to expose themselves. Force them to take action or come in and make a deal. Because there's going to be people who make deals. There has to be people who make deals. You're living in La La Land if you think otherwise. What this is there's lots of people who want to see this stuff all made public just for the sake of scratching their little itch. But they're the same ones who will turn around, and if everything was made public and everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, we already knew all of that stuff. Like, yeah, Reid Hoffman was there, and whomever else was on the list. Most of the names are already out there anyways. And then people are like, okay, the list was released, and a week later, there's some new thing going on. Then they would be like, oh yeah, see, it didn't matter in the first place. Nobody ever cared. Like, you're mad that it hasn't been released because you want it to be released. You're not like thinking logically about how you would go about doing something like this. You think you matter. You think you matter, and they need to release it because this is in the interest of the people. I'm one of the people. I deserve to see that. How dare you hold that back from me? And if you're honest, if you're like, yeah, I just want to see it and I'm mad that they haven't released it yet. Okay, cool, fair enough. But that's not like a knock on them. This is mafia shit that's happening right now. As Luongo says, Don Trump Leone. He has been mob bossing this so far. And what I would do in that position is I would drag it out as long as possible. I would dig the screws in as slowly and as protractedly as possible. Oh, we're going to release it. We're going to release it. You never know. Any day, you could wake up. You could wake up and the news could be all over it. It's honestly kind of basic. Here's some more speculative stuff that can neither confirm nor deny. I think probably it's unlikely, but I don't know that we can completely rule it out. Emerald Robinson said, rumor, I'm hearing that some generals were caught shredding documents and that the FBI has raided the homes of some CIA officials, trying to confirm. She's someone who has had sources in the past, formerly with Newsmax and OANN. It's not completely out of the question to me, I think, that she might have people who are legitimately passing on legitimate things that could have happened. If these sorts of things are happening, I would expect that they would not be publicly reported on. And they would actually probably prefer that they're not publicly reported on for the time being, at least. And then this here, which has all the looks of an op entirely, but an op for whom? Who knows? A retired spy. Said the generals were snared in their offices shredding documents by Cash's team at 3 a.m. Hegseth arranged the bust. The generals are currently in custody at Andrews Air Force Base. Now, I have the same take on this here, basically, as old Alex Jones. I know that there was a shredder truck that was ordered to the FBI building right after, like the day after the election, I think. And honestly, at this point, I would not at all be putting it past these people to be in there shredding documents. If there were generals who were in there shredding documents, that would not be surprising to me whatsoever. And if they ran a sting on them and scooped them up, because they're doing this whole, oh, the documents are going to be released, And when they may have the documents somewhere else, like maybe these are a bunch of stupid boomers that don't even realize that all these generals, they're like, oh, we got to shred the papers. They don't realize that they already have digital copies of everything. There's so many different ways that this could go at this point. But if that was happening, this is what it would look like. So this is what Alex Jones has to say about it, which I agree. I think he's pretty much right.
Since Friday, I've been seeing these unconfirmed reports all over X that all these raids have happened on FBI agents, CIA agents' homes, and then, of course, it never then emerges in the news. And Kash Patel just got confirmed. I don't think those raids are going to move that fast. I think right now that is rumors, but we do have FBI whistleblowers that are very credible, saying that their sources say that the deep state has been destroying evidence ever since Trump was president-elect. And of course, that makes perfect sense. They've done that many times before Hillary and the smashing of the hard drives and all the rest of it. But I would expect with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino getting into the FBI that very quickly you will start seeing indictments of the cut and dry cases of government bureaucrats with USAID money and the rest of it. I would expect that to be some of the first indictments that you will see. But even moving at lightning speed with grand juries and things, it'll still, I would say, take another month or so. But I think in about 30 days, I'll be surprised if you don't see indictments. If in 2 months we don't see a bunch, then I'll be extremely concerned. But we have due process in this country, and we're not becoming the Democrats that ignore all of that. We have to give these people, due process and the rest of it to make sure that we roll up their entire operations. But cutting off their funding that Doge and Trump have been doing is really the key, and that's why they're freaking out and going so crazy right now. So I'd give the administration an A+. Again, Trump has ordered over a month ago the declassification of the JFK files, a bunch of other stuff. We need to start seeing that very, very quickly. That needs to happen because that stuff's so old. But the newer stuff, they have to redact innocent people and victims and things from it. So it is a Herculean task, but it's got to be done. So I expect it to start flowing out very, very soon, and then indictments after that. We bring down the latest developments today at 11 a.m. Central when I start my show on X at Real Alex Jones. Harrison Smith starts his just a few minutes at 8 a.m. Central. Be sure and watch him.
Yeah, he's looking phenomenal. He has really gotten his health under control, and he looks better. He sounds better. He looks like he's feeling better. It's great to see. He's a patriot, a hero, American hero. Yeah, I think that's some valuable words in there that a lot of you guys you need to chill out. You need to calm down, just relax, take a chill pill. Some of these things are going to take time. It's going to take time to get the prosecutions. There's a lot of people. It's like this. They'll say, "Oh, these people who are doing this thing, they've been fired. They've been relieved of duty," and everyone's like, "Oh, see, they're not even prosecuting them." Yeah, you can't. There's a lot going on right now, and the first thing you got to do is you got to fire them, get them out of the building. Then you can put together a case against them and come back and arrest them and prosecute them. These aren't all going to happen immediately. There's only so many human beings in the world who could do so many different things at one time. And there's a whole hell of a lot of things happening right now. So just calm down, just relax, just wait. Just wait. Time to trust. Time to be a plan truster. You plan trusting Anon? Because there are arrests. There are arrests happening. Owner of a staffing agency in Pennsylvania town flooded by Haitians pleads guilty to harboring illegals. The owner of a Charleroi staffing agency pleaded guilty Monday to multiple charges after officials said he harbored illegal aliens for financial gain. In a release from the acting U.S. attorney for the Western Pennsylvania District's office, 28-year-old Andy Ha, that doesn't sound like a very American name, pleaded guilty after officials said he harbored illegal aliens for financial gain and failed to pay more than $3 million in employment taxes. And then the Rapid Response account tweeted out this press release: 14 members of extensive alien smuggling organization charged and 8 arrested for smuggling hundreds of illegal aliens into the United States. Drip, 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 drip. And on the subject of immigration, Blackwater CEO Erik Prince has offered the Trump administration his company's services to conduct deportations. Prince's proposal involves using military bases as processing camps and a fleet of 100 planes. 500,000 illegals would be deported per month for a total of 12 million before the 2026 midterms. The price tag would be $25 billion. This offer needs to be accepted yesterday. Absolutely. One of the things that he talked about, some more details with it, is that it would involve recruiting private citizens to a task force and bounties for people reporting and scooping them up. $25 billion for that. $25 billion to get 12 million out in the next year and a half. 100%. Because if you've got Blackwater teams going around scooping people up and deporting them, if they get 12 million, do you know how many people are going to self-deport? The self-deport numbers are already huge. It's obvious from the way that it's changed up neighborhoods. I'm hearing from people all over the country who are like, this neighborhood used to be kind of sketchy, lots of people milling around, the restaurants were always full, the grocery stores were always packed, empty, crickets. That's how many illegal people have been here. Probably at least 100 million. So if Blackwater death squads can deport 12 million of them in the next year and a half, probably 50 million more will self-deport because they don't want to get scooped up by Erik Prince's boys. Sign the check. Make it happen. And then the last story that I'll hit you guys with today, because I got to get out of here, is, well, there's a story, and then I've got a story, I've got a wholesome thing, and then I've got a joke. This one here, Mayor Adams, you will not believe what he says here.
So, this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid? I'm running my race right now.
I can't dislike the man. The look on his face. Just looking around, he's so proud of himself. Are you stupid? Oh, man, what a good time we live in. Hit the like button for me, folks. I'm going to bless your eardrums now. Transport you into another world. Just briefly. 2 minutes and 52 seconds.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. country road. I hear her voice in the morning hour when she calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down this road I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads.
All right, very last thing. I got a joke for you guys. So a rabbi gathers his congregation and says, "Fellow Yidden, I figured out why the Goyim don't like us. It's because we don't drink vodka. So I want each of you to bring a bottle of vodka tomorrow. We'll pour all the bottles into a huge barrel and learn to drink like the Goyim." Chaim goes home and tells his wife he needs a bottle of vodka for tomorrow. His wife says, "Bring water, it's cheaper, and they won't be able to tell in that big barrel." Next morning, the rabbi takes everyone's bottle, pours them into the barrel, stirs, fills a cup, and drinks. "Yidden," he announces, "now I really know why they don't like us." Hit the like button on your way out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter, X, @RealKingPilled. Join the Kingpilled Discord, kingpilled.com. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Astrolabe. And now, I give you Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough, and I said,